My son is about to be 9 months old, so I'm about 9 months postpartum, and I was probably diagnosed with it, I don't know, in the early 30-week stage of pregnancy, probably maybe like 34 weeks or so. For me, you could definitely see it in my belly. I had a huge belly, which I will insert a picture here. And if you've already Googled this, I'm sure it has scared you, and that's why I wanted to share my experience. They say if you have, there's birth defects in the babies or heart problems, or if you have diabetes, like all the reasons that I read about and my doctor mentioned, I didn't have. So it's just kind of one of those, it just happens types of things. So then I started actually worrying, like, oh, do I actually have diabetes? And the tests were wrong. Anyways, you're pregnant, that's very normal to be worried and concerned, but my doctor made it seem like I really didn't need to worry. She's still at almost, 39 weeks, 2 days is when my water did break. And it was kind of dramatic. It was, to me, kind of something out of like a movie scene, because again, if you've read up on this at all, people are mostly like, oh, it's not like it is in the movies. Well, mine was. It may be more dramatic than some movies I've seen. I was asleep. I had started having contractions, and they weren't very painful or anything, but they were pretty tight and getting stronger. And so I knew I did better catch some sleep, because if this is labor, and this was like at 10 at night, I'm going to be laboring all night, so I want to get as much sleep as I can. And so almost exactly at midnight, a few minutes maybe before, I just all of a sudden woke up out of the dead of a sleep and felt a gush. Just like, I don't know how to explain it, but more of just like, almost like someone had turned a hose on in me, and I just felt it rushing through my body. And I bolted out of bed and ran to the bathroom. And that's where the floodgates opened, okay? It was a lot. And so, I sat on the toilet to let it all release, and it just kept coming. When I thought it was slowing down enough to where I could maybe get up and clean myself up and start, making calls, it just almost every time I stood up, more would gush out. It was a lot of fluid. I'm glad I had some Depends on hand, because I had heard, for after surgery, a lot of women prefer the Depends over the pads they give you in the hospital for the bleeding. So thankfully I had some of those on hand. I actually soaked through a few of those before I was able to even leave for the hospital. So if you have that polyhydramnios, you might want to have some of those on hand, especially if you're out and about, because that's my experience. So it wasn't really anything to be worried and scared about. Like, I didn't have diabetes. The baby didn't end up being born a healthy, beautiful baby boy. And he wasn't as big as they kept telling me. So also, if they keep telling you, well, you're going to have such a big baby, don't worry. He may not be as big, as the ultrasounds can be off by like a pound either way. So, he was smaller than actually they had predicted. And no healthy baby boy, no birth defects, no heart problems.